I used to believe that family would never betray you. I believed that loyalty, sacrifice, and hard work meant something. But I learned the truth the day my own uncle fired me from the store I practically built with him. Fired me because I refused to let him use me for free labor. If you have ever been taken advantage of by your own family, you'll understand every word of this story, and maybe, like me, you'll learn that karma has a strange way of balancing everything. My name is Cassian Ford. I'm 24 now, but this story began long before that. I started working in our family grocery store when I was just 14 years old. While other kids played video games after school, I stocked shelves, cleaned floors, carried heavy boxes, and learned how to deal with suppliers and customers. I didn't complain. The store felt like home to me. My uncle, Darrow Whitlock, used to call me the engine of the business. Back then, I believed every compliment he gave. When my grandfather, the original owner, passed away, the store was handed to Uncle Darrow. At first, I thought nothing would change. I thought family business meant loyalty and shared effort. But the moment my uncle took charge, everything turned different. Rules changed overnight, and so did his attitude. He installed security cameras everywhere, forced the older employees to accept shift cuts, and created a rule that family must work overtime without pay because profit stays in the family. It didn't feel like family anymore. It felt like a trap. I remember the first time I refused to work until 3 a.m. I had already done a 12-hour shift that day, and the next morning I had college exams. I tried to explain that. I wasn't rude. I wasn't lazy. I just needed a break. But Uncle Darrow stared at me like I had insulted him. He said, "A loyal man doesn't ask for rest. He asks where else he can help." It sounded wise, but what he really meant was work for free and stay silent. The more I pushed myself to prove my dedication, the more he took advantage. If an employee got sick, I covered their shift. If suppliers needed calls at midnight, I made them. If a customer complained, I was sent to fix it. Yet no matter how much I did, it was never enough. My paycheck stayed the same. My meals were unpaid. And whenever I asked for even a small raise, he laughed and said, "Be patient, your reward will come someday." That someday never came. The breaking point arrived one Saturday night. I had a fever, a burning headache, and barely enough energy to stand. I told Uncle I needed to clock out early. Instead of showing concern, he shouted loud enough for customers to hear, "Real family doesn't quit. If you walk out now, don't bother coming back tomorrow." I thought he was angry and would cool down later. But when I returned the next morning, he had already changed the locks. He fired me. Just like that. He told the employees I was disloyal, selfish, ungrateful, the same boy who once worked his hardest for this family. I stood outside the store with shaking hands, not because I had lost my job, but because I realized something. I had never been family to him. I had been free labor. That night at Sunday dinner, the whole family was gathered. I hoped someone would defend me. Instead, Uncle Darrow laughed loudly and said, "I had to let Cassian go. Family should work for love, not money. If he wanted a salary more than loyalty, there's the door." Everyone laughed with him, except me. In that moment, I made a silent promise to myself. If he valued loyalty so much, then he would soon learn what true loyalty meant, and how easily it leaves when it's abused. I didn't know how, and I didn't know when. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't done. For the first few weeks after getting fired, I felt completely lost. I didn't just lose a job. I lost the place where I spent my teenage years, where I built my identity, where I genuinely thought I belonged. Every morning I woke up early out of habit, and then remembered I had nowhere to go. Meanwhile, my uncle kept spreading rumors in the neighborhood that I abandoned the family for easy money. Those words hurt more than losing my job. One evening, I was sitting on the curb outside the grocery store parking lot, watching customers going in and out. They didn't know what happened to me. They probably thought I left for something better. That's when Leora Kensley, one of the kind regular customers, passed by and almost dropped her shopping bags when she saw me. She hugged me and said, "It hasn't been the same without you. You treated people like humans, not numbers." I couldn't stop myself from smiling. That sentence flipped a switch in my mind. I suddenly realized something. I didn't need the family store to do what I loved. I needed a place where customers felt valued, something my uncle no longer provided. A week later, I met my best friend from college, Rylan Mercer, at a small cafe. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting and then asked me one simple question. "Why don't you open your own shop?" I laughed at first. I thought he was joking. I only had a small savings account and a broken spirit. But Rylan wasn't joking. He leaned forward and said, "You built that business from the inside. You know suppliers, customers, inventory, everything. Don't waste that knowledge." That night I wrote down a crazy list. A modern grocery store with flexible hours, contactless payments, friendly service, online delivery, a loyalty program, and a small corner for local products. Basically, everything customers wanted, everything my uncle refused to upgrade. I needed money to start, so I took a risk. I sold my old car, emptied my savings, and Rylan invested his own savings too. We found a small shop just 4 blocks away from my uncle's store. It wasn't big and it wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The day we hung a temporary sign saying, "Opening soon, Meridian Greens Market," I stood outside in silence. I didn't feel revenge. I didn't feel anger. I felt freedom. Opening week was rough. Some days we only had 2 or 3 customers. But I treated every person like royalty. When people walked in, I remembered their names. I learned what bread they preferred, what snacks their kids liked, and which products they bought every week. If someone couldn't afford groceries, I discreetly gave them credit and told them to pay whenever they could. At night, I promoted the shop on social media with pictures of local suppliers and fresh stock. Slowly, very slowly, people started coming back. The first time I noticed a regular from my uncle's store walk through my doors, I almost cried. It was Mrs. Tamara Elwood, the retired schoolteacher who used to tell me stories about her grandchildren. She bought milk and fruit, then whispered, "Your uncle doesn't smile anymore. The place feels cold." That same week, more familiar faces appeared. First 3 customers. Then 8. Then 16. Then dozens. What I didn't expect was the reaction from my uncle. One afternoon, I was arranging fresh vegetables when I saw him through the shop window, standing outside across the street, staring at the long line of customers waiting to check out. His own store had only a few people inside. His expression wasn't anger, it was fear. Over the next few weeks, rumors spread that my uncle's store was struggling. Suppliers were frustrated because he never updated to digital payments. His employees were quitting because of his overtime abuse. Customers complained that he treated them as problems instead of people. Everything that I once silently endured was coming back to him, not because of revenge, but because of karma. Then, one evening, something happened that I will never forget. My shop was closing. I had just put the key in the door when I heard a familiar voice behind me. My uncle. His face looked tired, older than before. He swallowed hard and said, "Cassian, I need your help." In that moment, the world felt silent. Part of me was shocked. Part of me remembered every cruel word, every humiliation, every unpaid hour. But another part of me wanted to hear what came next. And what came next changed everything. My uncle stood there in front of my shop door, the same man who once told the whole family that I was weak and disloyal. But the look on his face that night wasn't pride, it was defeat. He hesitated before speaking again, and for the first time in my life, I saw him nervous. He said, "Cassian, the store is collapsing. I've lost too many customers. Suppliers won't extend credit. I don't know what to do anymore." For a moment, I didn't respond. I just stared at him. All the memories flashed in my mind. The sleepless nights, the humiliation, the unpaid overtime, the insults in front of my family. A younger version of me would have begged him for approval. But the man standing there now didn't need his validation anymore. I simply asked, "What do you want from me?" His voice trembled as he said, "I want to work for you. I need a job." Hearing those words felt unreal. The same uncle who once told me that family should work for love, not money, now needed money more than anything. He looked desperate, and I could almost hear the echo of his own sentence from that Sunday dinner. If he wanted a salary more than loyalty, there's the door. Now he was the one standing at my door. We walked inside and sat across from each other in my office. A small wooden desk, 2 chairs, and a stack of invoices. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. My uncle wiped his eyes and whispered, "I'm sorry for how I treated you. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone." It was the apology I once prayed for, but now I didn't feel the same pain. I didn't want revenge that destroyed him. I wanted a lesson that transformed him. So I pulled out a contract. A real one. Clear terms, fair salary, scheduled hours, paid overtime, and employee rights. Then I said, "If you want this job, you'll work like everyone else. No unpaid overtime. No exploiting people. No excuses. Respect the system, and you'll be respected." My uncle stared at the contract for a long time, maybe remembering everything he had once denied me. Then he signed it. On his first day as an employee, customers were stunned to see him in my shop, arranging shelves and scanning products. Some laughed quietly, some ignored him, but most understood what had happened. Karma has perfect timing. And to my uncle's credit, he didn't complain. He didn't demand special treatment. He worked hard and slowly learned how to speak kindly to customers again. Watching him change wasn't satisfying out of pride. It was satisfying because he finally understood the value of people. Months later, something even more surprising happened. At a family dinner, the same crowd that once laughed at me, my uncle stood up and said, "Cassian has taught me what loyalty really means. Loyalty isn't free labor. Loyalty is mutual respect." That was the moment I felt something stronger than revenge, closure. I didn't win by destroying him. I won by proving that kindness, fairness, and hard work build stronger foundations than manipulation and ego. My uncle didn't just lose his position, he gained something better, humility. And I gained something I didn't expect, forgiveness. In the end, I realized something important. Family isn't defined by blood. Family is defined by the people who value your worth, not the ones who feel entitled to it. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of something you've gone through, I'd really love to hear your experience in the comments. Your words might help someone who's struggling right now. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Your support helps stories like this reach people who feel alone, and maybe, just maybe, it will remind them that karma never forgets. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourselves and the people who genuinely care about you.